All right, we're back with part 1 of the Wiki Pages EX12B, and what we're going to do first, according to our instructions, is we're going to go to CyberDuck and we're going to download a pre-art file. I mentioned that a pre-art folder. I mentioned that before, but what you're going to do is you're going to copy that down to your upload sample or your upload your name folder. I call myself sample, so that's why I have upload sample. This would be upload Smith if your last name was Smith. Now you can drag this right into your main directory, or you could put it right into your EX12 folder. Either way, whatever's easier. I'm just going to drag it and put it in my main directory. And it's just pre-art, and there's about a meg or close to a meg or two in there. There's a bunch of pictures we may use for other pages as we work on. There's a whole bunch of downloads, but the main file that you're going to be worried about is the one called Dr. Wiki Copy. It's a Word file that you're going to be opening up. So that's the one you're going to want to copy down. And again, we're not going to be uploading this folder, so you're just going to want to use stuff from here. So what we're going to do first, other than working with this, I'm going to go back to brackets, and I have another folder that's opened up because it's finished. So I'm going to go File, Open Folder, and I'm going to open up and it's my upload sample. So here it is right now, and it's the one I worked on last time. So open that up, and let me just preview this and just make sure it's what I want. I'm gonna close these up so I don't have the original ones. I'm just gonna make sure that this is the newest one when I preview it. Okay, and this looks okay from what I can see, and all right, and it's yeah, this looks okay. So this is the last one that I had worked on in here, and what I'm going to do after opening this up is I'm going to go back to brackets, and now here's when you open folder, it shows EX12. What we're going to do is right click on index. You could right click right on the file. I didn't even know you could do this, but if you right click right on an existing file in that directory, just go new file, and I'm just going to call it meet.html. And why we're calling it meet.html is because we already have a link to a file. If I go to my index page, we already have a link to a file called meet.html. So we might as well keep it the same, then we don't have to change that link. So here's meet.html. There's nothing in it. But it's nice that we call it an HTML file because it will have color coding once we start working on the file. And what I'm going to do first is I'm just going to go to this, and I'm going to do a Command A or Control A on Windows and copy everything. So I'm going to do Command C on a Mac or Control C on Windows, and go to my Meet page, and I'll just paste. I'll do Control V or Command V, and I'll paste everything on here. So it's an exact duplicate of the index page. And what I'm going to do on this page, when I go in the Meet page, is most of the content's going to be the same. The navigation and the headers, footers, nav side, the navigation, all that's going to stay the same. The one main thing that's going to change is this article ID. Instead of homepage, I'm going to call this Meet. And it has a closing article tag, so I don't have to do anything in here. And we're going to actually remove this copy that's in here, and I could paste over it if I want, unless I want to paste some stuff in here. But what I'm going to do is go to my pre-art folder, open up this Dr. Wiki Copy document, and this is a Word file that I gave to you. And some of this you can copy right from here. Maybe I'll do this. I'll copy this Meet the Team, and I'll go back, and you're copying again from Word into here, and I'll put this Meet the Team kind of in here. That's going to be your top in there. And what I asked you to do when you do this for the H1 is you can actually go in here and put an ID called H1 ID equals, and in quotes put a top. Now you might say, why am I doing that right now? Well, that's the kind of the ID that we're going to plant in there, or the anchor that we're going to put in there, so that we could link to it from the bottom of some of those other articles. So I'm going to put that in there first, right off the bat. So, and it's inside the H1 tag. So it's inside the first opening H1 tag. You're doing H1 ID equals a top, and then you're closing that up, and it's going to say Meet the Team. So that's all that's going to say. So I'll go back to my Word file, and I'm going to copy all this stuff, and it's going to copy it all through, I think Sarah is the last one. So I'm going to copy this through Sarah, and I'm going to copy all that copy and put it in here right where it says H2, right up till before the closing article tag, and I'll just paste that in, and it's going to be a whole bunch of stuff in here. Okay, now the first thing I'm going to do in here is these things are going to be H3s. These are going to be H3s, but before I do that, well, I guess I could do that first because it's the first thing coming down here. as I work down my page. So I'm going to make these H3s, and you could find ways to make this more efficient. I'm going to do H3, and then I'm going to do a closing H3, and if you put the slash, it should close it for you. Now, instead of doing that every time, well, I'm actually going to stop the tape, but what you could do is you could copy these, and you could paste these in front of all the others. That'll save some time, and then you could go and copy the closing tags and paste those. Okay, I just did all those, and I put an extra one down here, an extra H3, and all that I'm going to put in there, and I'm going to hit the and sign and put N and look for the non-breaking space. I'm just going to put a non-breaking space just as a little placeholder, just to create a gap between the H3s and whatever is after that once we start with the names. So I'm gonna save that to start. Now, just saving this to start isn't going to make our page look good yet. Once we go, because we don't even have the right, we don't even have a CSS that's targeting article meat yet, and we're going to do that a little bit later. So moving on, what I just did, I guess it's like step 12 on the sheet that I gave you. So let's take a look at where we are on the sheet. And the next thing we're going to do for step 13 is we're going to make all these headings with names, or they're going to be H2s. So yes, they're going to be H2s because the other ones were H3s. So these were actually third levels. These are going to be second levels. These are going to be a little bigger, and I'm just going to put a closing H2 on there, and you can see it indents automatically when I do that. Now, while I'm doing this, since I'm going to all at one shot, what I'm going to do is I'm also going to put an ID in here. ID equals, and I'm just in quotes, I'm just going to put JW. And the other ones, I'm just going to put their first name. If it's Angela, I'm just going to put Angela. So that's the way I'm going to do this. So I could even copy this. That'll save me a little time. And I'll go down and find Angela, and I'll paste this, and I'll change JW to A, and I'll do Tara, and I'll copy JW, and just paste over it with a T. And obviously, if they had the same initials, I would change that. And Joanne is getting a J. And then there's Pam, who's getting a P. And then finally, Sarah, that's getting an S. So they have their IDs and they have their beginning H2 tags. Now I don't have my closing H2 tags, so I'm just going to copy these and paste them. And I'll stop recording, and I'll just do that so you don't have to watch that. Okay, so I put all my H2 tags. So far what I did is I have I changed my article to be meat. I made my H1, and I'll even put a return here so it stands out a little better. Or maybe I'll just move it out a little bit more. There's my H1 with the ID of a top. I have all these names as H3s. Now, they're not links yet. They're not actually linking to anything yet, but they will. Also, all the first names of the paragraph actually have an H2. Now, if I want to take a look at this, I could. Let me just save it, and I'll take a look at it and see what it looks like. And it won't probably look good yet. It won't be formatted quite yet because we're not linked up to the CSS. We don't have a CSS declaration which talks about article meat yet. But at least the information's in here, and it looks okay so far. So we're okay. Now there's separate paragraphs that are in here that we need to kind of break up, and you can't really see them in here. But what we're going to do, and this is actually step 14 that's on your sheet, and this will take a little time too, so I won't record everything. But what you're going to do is you're going to put a paragraph before and after each paragraph. Now, if you copied and paste the word stuff, you could kind of see where the paragraphs start and end. There's like kind of gaps in between there. So I'm basically going to do this. I'll start doing this, and then I'll stop the tape. But I'll put a P tag, and this is time consuming. That's why some people use Dreamweaver, because Dreamweaver will do a lot of this for you, or other programs will do a lot of this for you. And if you want, you could, the easiest thing is just to copy and then put P's before all the paragraphs. I'll just paste them and try to find where they're at. Looks like they actually are by line numbers here, which is nice. So I could go to the line numbers and do my beginning paragraphs, and then I'm going to put a closing paragraph. Here's a closing one that's right up here. I'll copy that, and then I'll just paste that at the closing paragraph. That didn't take that long to do. And I don't have to put any ID names or anything in here, so these are just regular paragraphs. And then I'll do the same for all of these. So let me just pause, and then I'll update those, and then we'll move on to the links. Okay, I have all my P's in here, and as you do that, you may see some of them turn red because they'll be missing a closing closing tag, and it'll be alerting you to that. So and if you have anything that's not matched up, you may see some red in there. So if you see red, that means it's a problem. Look for a tag that's not closed properly, or that it doesn't have an opening tag. The next step on here is 15, and it says you're going to put a link before all of these things, all of these anchor tags here. So we're going to do that, and I think I'll take a break here, because then we'll just focus on all the kind of the links and the targets that we'll do for that. So I think I'm going to take a break here. But what we have so far, again, if I preview what I have here in brackets, we basically should have paragraphs now. Now I can see I have paragraphs, but they're still not linked up to the CSS, and that's okay. We'll do the CSS at the end. Don't worry about how it looks yet. We'll do that at the end, and we'll update the CSS. But what we're going to do next is kind of fix up our links for our anchors. So let me take a break here, and then we'll move on to the anchor part.